Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. In this video, I'd like to get on to the news from last week that yet another very wealthy Brexiteer is ensuring that they will not be suffering the drawbacks of Brexit in the way that they expect the rest of us to do so. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, there's going to be some interesting Brexit news in the next week, because the government later today, in actual fact, are going to start announcing their measures. There was a report on buying up a load of land near Dover, a fair way out, but from the port, but still near Dover, in order to prepare for the massive queues. And there's to be further announcements tomorrow. Now, obviously, I'm not going to speculate on those, so I'll just leave it until the government have announced those. Whether that video would come out later on Monday or even Tuesday depends on how much information they release and at what point. But it may well go through a few twists and turns over the next week. But on this occasion, to whet our appetite for the Brexit week ahead, it's Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his automotive group. Now, I mean, we already know that the likes of, say, Jacob Rees-Mogg moved his financial affairs from the UK to Ireland. Sir James Dyson, another keen Brexiteer, buggered off to Singapore, took all his operations off to Singapore, well, his headquarters, so he's now based there. Of course, a country that's part of the free trade area with the EU, because the UK no longer is, well, it's not going to be in 6 months. And of course, we all know the stories of wealthy Brexiteers who have obtained, or at least tried to obtain, residency in EU countries in order to get passports for themselves and their families. Boris Johnson's father, for example, recently said he wanted residency in the EU so that he could make sure his grandkids were able to get EU passports and the benefits of having those EU passports. Sickening, really, isn't it, when you think about it? Because if leaving the EU was supposed to be so great for the rest of us, how come it's not for them? But back to Sir Jim, the richest person in the UK by all accounts. Now, he'd already buggered off to Monaco. Easy way for, the wealthy British elites to make sure they can look after themselves, as well as getting out of paying taxes in particular. And the car that was going to be built by his group in Wales now looks like it's going to be shifted to France. So that's 500 jobs that would have been provided in the beleaguered UK car manufacturing town that has now gone up in smoke. And just to give, the locals a real kick in the teeth, this was being billed as an example of why we shouldn't worry about Brexit, even though it made no sense then, because Bridgend is the site of a very large Ford engine factory. It's closing. This year it's closing, with the loss of 1,700 jobs. Then last year, the great Brexiteer Sir Jim Ratcliffe's group announced their plans. Going to build a car here. Brexit supporters were all over it. Look at that, Phil, they said. New jobs in car manufacturing. Yeah, we may be losing those, but there's new jobs coming in. To which I had to point out that losing 1,700 jobs to gain 500, not really going to qualify as a Brexit dividend. In case their maths was a little bit crap, I did helpfully point out that that represented an 800 job net loss in that town alone. And now even those 500 jobs are going to be moved to the EU. Now, COVID is being cited for the decision. They're saying, it's this social distancing, it's hampering our work. But there are greater restrictions in France than there are even in Wales. So that's a load of bollocks. By their own admission, what they've actually said is that they saw an opportunity for a factory in the EU, France in this case, and of course see the major benefits. It would be able to trade very easily inside the single market. In Britain, they'd only be able to sell cars easily to the British market because they'll have massive tariffs on them if they try and sell them elsewhere, not just in the EU, anywhere else. So, and the British market, you would think, is also not going to have quite as much money for new cars soon. And this is why there are some car manufacturers hanging on, because they think to themselves, if a load of other car manufacturers leave, then actually, because we are still going to want cars, there is room for some car manufacturer in the UK, depending, of course, how the government play it, because they'd have to put tariffs on car imports. Otherwise, those companies would definitely just move overseas and just, you know, ship them to the UK. But if there's going to be large import duties due on them, then there'll be a place for some car factories, but only to supply ourselves. And you just get to a point where you have to wonder, what is the point? You know, at what stage are people going to open their eyes and see just what Brexit has done to their country? And it's not difficult. And if they don't give a crap about their country, what it's done for their futures. Because everyone has been able to see the great lengths that very wealthy Brexiteers, real big supporters of Brexit, have gone in order to be able to retain EU passports. If the new blue that looks black British passport is so great, why are all these wealthy Brexiteers getting themselves an EU passport? Why are they so disappointed when some of them have been turned down? Most of them are not, because you can buy yourself an EU passport if you just invest enough money into the right countries. I mean, doesn't that tell you something? And when international businesses, makes no difference whether they supported Brexit or not, when so many international businesses that had operations in the UK, even headquarters in the UK, are moving offices and even headquarters overseas en masse, again, wasn't that a bit of a clue? And although this latest example has been since the general election, I mean, there have been so many others before that you think, anyone who voted Conservative on the basis of their intentions for Brexit must have been stark raving mad. And in terms of this particular decision, this latest decision, coming from a Brexit, because although I say it doesn't matter whether the company supports Brexit or not, if they're all moving operations overseas, that tells you something. But it is particularly galling when it's a Brexit supporting company. And that didn't pass unnoticed in the Welsh Parliament, where members were saying that, you know, you'd have expected those who supported Brexit to have, well, put their money where their mouth is and to have actually shown the way. They're the ones who apparently say that Brexit's going to be great. So why don't they show the rest of them how it's done? Apparently that means moving your operations to the EU. So there it is. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.